Calm down, diddly 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 diddly. They did their best, shoddily diddly diddly diddly. Gotta be nice, hostility diddly diddly diddly. Ah, hell, diddly ding dong crap! Can't you morons do anything right?
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my Irish rogue, Mr. Liam McNeil.
The very same, yes.
Liam, we can't go too much further without welcoming our musical guest for this week. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Joust stage, Mr. Gary Raj.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Higher and higher, it's burning through my soul. Well, girl, you're gonna set me on fire. Ooh, braid is flaming, I don't know which way to go. Yeah, 24's up on a half, lost the lead real fast. Now we're almost last, sucking ass.
Thank you, Mr. Raj, sucking ass indeed. Now, Liam, of course, we usually would drape ourselves in our Newcastle Knights colours.
And velvet if we could.
And velvet, to drape from head to toe. But instead we started to drape our jerseys behind us on our chair.
For those in the visual medium, of course, you'll see that we're not in our usual jersey. And Naggy, it's out of protest, I think it's safe to say this week. We are protesting the state of the Newcastle Knights Rugby League Football Club, Naggy, by draping our jerseys on our chair. If anything, we may be braver than that man at Tiananmen Square, protesting against the tank.
Yes, with the bags.
Braver than the troops, we are.
Did he hold bags?
Shopping.
Shopping, yeah.
Shopping.
He just thought, bloody tank going down the road. Not on my watch. That's what he said. If you zoomed in close enough, they had a mic down there. And he said, do you know what you're doing to the roads? Terrible.
See, this might be this might all be news to our listeners in the CCP.
He worked for the council at the time. Because we've just finished this.
We just resurfaced
it. It was potholes for days before, and we just finished work. I've just done my weekly, and then now look what I see. I popped my head out the window, and there's a bloody, what are they
a tank.
A tank. What type of tanks are the Chinese?
Oh, they were a knockoff, I think, of the T-62, of course, of Soviet design.
Wasn't he surprised? Popped his head out the window, bloody T-62 running down the main drag.
There's nothing quite so powerful as the disgruntled council worker is there, Naggy. If you ever want to get in the way of infrastructure, get a council worker offside.
Yes, or tell them to do something, or basically at any point you say do something, don't do something. They're just going to act in the contrary. They work
contrarians.
They work best in opposition. But I tell you who works for you. When you who works for you, Liam, is our very own the appliance guy. Mr. Cade Chesworth does all the work for you, and we gave him a little project over the week. We said,
did. We don't often assign homework to members of the Joust family, but you put something to Cade, a quite interesting project, didn't you?
Well, we said white goods. White goods seems to really narrow the market. Can he work on black goods? And then we have a photo of him there
doing that very thing,
working on a black good. And so thank you very much, Cade Chesworth, good friend of the show, and of course that number that he likes to be contacted by is
0414 760 542.
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Context is important to all the words you've just said then. Context is very important.
Yes, very important. Yeah. So thank you very much, Kate Chesworth. But Liam, before we move any further, of course, without talking about our beloved Newcastle Knights and the struggles that they're going through, we must look more broadly across the NRL in a segment we like to call The News. Thank you, guys. And to lead us off with the news is a very exciting announcement, which I think also Gaz will lead us through once again.
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva, 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 viva!
Thank you, Gaz.
You're really earning your money tonight, Gaz. Excellent work.
Those fingers are worked to the bone, especially what we pay as well. The Knights, the Newcastle Knights,
about time,
is going to be heading across seas for probably our first overseas trip since the 2002 World
Club Challenge.
Challenge.
Of course.
Oh, that's right. We do go to New Zealand. Yeah. We do go to New Zealand. Thank you very much, Sam.
That's not really an international trip, though.
Some might say often. Often we head over the ditch there. But
I've always wanted to see the Knights lose a game on a third continent. That excites me.
It's about
I'm looking
going
forward to that.
in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Now, Liam, you're from the Northern Hemisphere. Well, a large part of
Somewhat.
you is. Somewhat is. Which would you rate as far as hemispheres go? The best and the worst?
Each has their own unique...
Fat people.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, I think they're about even.
About even.
Yeah, if you look up the pros and cons list, I'd say they come out roughly
Square.
Roughly square.
Circle, possibly.
The big thing for Australia, or the Southern Hemisphere, is that we don't have the United States of America in it.
That's right.
So I think we win that one in the Southern Hemisphere.
We've kept it out, and I think it's even drifting further away, which is a plus. Have you ever been to Las Vegas, Liam, in your time over there?
Well, I've been to West, and I think it's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Las Vegas is just a big West.
A big West.
Yeah.
Well, effectively, that is exactly what the Newcastle Knights are very comfortable with West, so they should be very comfortable over there in big, huge buildings filled with poker machines.
I think that was Peter Parr's selling point. It was like, we're used to it back home. You know, it's just like a weekend out in Mayfield.
They seem to expand just as quickly as the West Club Empire as well. They're out there in the desert, similar to the Lambton, Mayfield, and Port Stephens. One big desert.
The Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. And it seems to be, well, the only difference really is the tables, of course. You can gamble the tables. You go there with the person and they deal the cards. Everything's a card
They used to have
game.
that at West, didn't they, back in the day?
No, they didn't have they didn't actually have a casino license, but they tried to make it look very, very casino-ish.
Because I remember sitting at the tables, but now you mention it, there was never a dealer inside.
Never a dealer.
So what did you do at the tables? I don't remember.
Well, there was always they have the AI tables, the ones that just they'll pretend like
video poker and video blackjack and such.
But then they also had one big horse race type table.
I remember the horse race, yeah.
Which had such a distinct feel of the community that it was gone for 10 plus years, but people would still come into the building and look around like that. And
like Club Taranga. How often did you get asked if Club Taranga was still open?
The Taranga Lounge.
The Taranga Lounge, rather.
Often. So they'll come in, they'll look left to right, and they'll say, do you still have that big table with the horses? Because there was a physical, you'd bet on the thing, and then the horses would run physically. They were not real horses. They were just, they looked like horses, and they went around a track.
Yeah.
And it was all obviously predetermined to make sure the house wins.
Like, you remember that little car track you played with as a kid where it was just round and you couldn't control the speed, you just pulled the trigger.
Yeah, true.
So whoever had the inside lane always won.
Well, you had the sort of, this is accountability, Lee. This is accountability, because if you went too hard on the trigger and the car went too fast,
it would fly right off
the track.
Yeah.
That's the kind of accountability that children these days aren't learning.
There's no consequences anymore.
No,
you can pull your trigger as fast as it wants, and your helicopter parent will just go put the car back on and say, you did it wonderfully.
It's all memory
You did a
cards.
great job.
Memory cards, Liam, was even after our time. If you lost the game, that was it. You had to start from the beginning.
Well, again, that was only the rich kids who had the vroom vroom cars with the trigger there.
Of
We didn't
course.
have that.
Oh,
We just
yeah.
had matchbox cars that you throw at the wall.
Throw it.
Yeah.
They were durable back then.
They were durable.
They were.
They don't make them like they used to, Naggy.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just don't make them like they used to. But I'm excited for this. Now,
Yeah. Viva Knights made it, everyone. Well done.
Yeah.
We got there on the... How many times have we been to Vegas? Is this the third time?
I think this is number 3. Yeah, trip number 3.
And how many
Third time's the charm, perhaps.
And they take 4 teams over.
teams
so
each?
we were in the top 12 of
Yeah.
teams that want to go to Vegas. Over there with the likes of the Bulldogs and the Dragons and the Cowboys.
The real glamour clubs.
Really, it's moments. It's really the teams that you don't think of prolonged success. It's more of just moments. The Dragons obviously had the 11 premierships, but that was back in the war days.
Well, and then you'd say the Bulldogs in the 80s and 90s were quite dominant. I'd say 2 of these clubs have very, very long stretches of complete dominance.
I mean, that was ages ago.
It was a while ago.
Far
And we have
away.
short memories. I don't think we have short memories in rugby league. If anything, it's the opposite. We have long memories
Too
in rugby
long,
league.
maybe.
Yeah.
Too long of a memory.
Well, a good weekend in Vegas will cure that of you. But I notice now they've got hospitality packages the NRL are doing. Obviously, they'll charter the flight over. They'll include your ticket. They'll include your hotels.
Are you saying this is a money-making
$5,000, not bad.
5,000 Australian dollars
Australian
or US
dollars.
dollars?
Australian dollars. But that's your flight, that's your hotel, that's your ticket to the game. I think that's actually not a bad deal.
You got to go over there with a big big what a cash you're willing to lose immediately over there because the house always.
Well,
wins.
they'll take your money as soon as you get in. You'll be tariffed.
You'll be tariffed
at the gate.
right, tariffed for being Australian.
Yeah.
Liam, does Vegas hold the same esteem as you would feel like the
Well, Hell's Kitchen's shot in Vegas, so absolutely. See, if Volandis could package in a ticket to a night at the Hell's Kitchen, like filming when they tape Hell's Kitchen, I would be all over it.
adore it.
Put it up to $6,000. Say you'll be in the bloody dining room while Gordon's at the pass. I'd pay the $6,000 for
What's
it.
the maitre d's name? It's not John Cole.
No, it was John. It was initially it was JP.
Yes.
And now it's an Italian. I don't really like
I thought
that.
he was with
but
French people.
yeah, he liked French. No, Belgian.
Belgian.
Remember, JP was Belgian.
Oh,
yeah.
was he
Jean
Belgian?
Philippe. Yeah, he's Belgian.
Jean-Philippe,
Jean
that's
Philippe,
right.
yeah.
It's sort of like the
Gordon used to always call him you Belgian twat.
What's the detective's name that's not French? Poirot. Yeah,
Poirot.
He's not French. He's Belgian. But Liam, I think the NRL thinks as they released all these, they're like, oh, which team is it going to be? It's like probably the teams that haven't gone
That's
yet.
it. You can rule 8 of them out already.
Yeah, well, it's a short list. But that was like, oh, Vegas is going to be exciting. Vegas is exciting for the regular everyday NRL supporter because it is the welcome back to football.
Yeah.
But like if you take it out the welcome back to football, we're knee deep in football at the moment. We've got
That's it. I'm not going to Vegas if it's on next weekend. I've got things to do. I've got work tomorrow.
we've got a struggling
I'm not
team
going to Vegas.
and the distraction of Origin are coming up over the top of us.
It is an odd time of the year to announce this, don't you think,
It
Nagy?
just
Wouldn't
seems
you
like
wait till the end of the year?
Yeah, just keep it secret. I suppose they want people to book. That's the thing when you go
because it's
halfway
all
across
about
the world.
money. It's all about gambling revenue. I don't think there's any coincidence that this game was initially planned in Las Vegas, the gambling capital of the world outside of West Mayfield.
I think so. I think so. It is something that I'm happy to see them going over there. I'm a little bit frightened that the Knights are going to get up to mischief and fights in the elevator over rooms and whatnot.
There has been a disappointing lack of off-field issues in Viva Las Vegas over the first 2 Magic rounds. There was the inflatable hammer gate. We had that, but that's about it.
That's about it.
But I think, and I said this initially, I think after the first Magic round, I hate to credit Misters Volandis and Abdo for doing anything right because they're known enemies of the show.
That's right.
But again, I think Magic Round has turned into a success, although not in the way they expected to. They expected to storm in and take the American market by storm, but it hasn't done that.
Sort of
Absolutely hasn't done that.
They give away tickets at the door.
Yeah, but it's turned into, I think, one of the best, excuses for a rugby league holiday you could ever have.
That's
For that, I won't tip my cap to you, Volandis and Abdo, but I'll say you didn't do quite too shit with this one.
Shitley. That's right. That's all we can hope to do in the world, really.
That's it. Our standards for those two men are not very high. The bar's quite low.
No, of course, we've scalped our own person from Vegas because they had what's known over there as a combine.
Yeah.
And now this, for people that are outside of the NFL, this is when all the players that are budding for an NFL contract will come together.
They do athletic things. Nagy.
They do timed things. They jump high. They run
You've got
fast.
the 40-yard dash. Everyone talks about who's got the fastest 40-yard dash.
They've
I
got
think
that
I'd
right
rank
back.
highly in the conversation.
Of course,
if I
very
was
fast.
to do a 40-yard dash
sprinter's
now.
calf.
You've got the jumping. I've sprinted ass as well.
Sprinter's ass,
They've
yeah.
got the jumping, where you see how high you can jump.
Yes.
Bench pressing's an important part of it. But yeah, it's a big deal before the draft. And one of the reasons they reckon Shedeur Sanders might have slid down the rankings in this year's draft, didn't want to work out in the combine. But then a whole bunch of other people didn't do it and got drafted really high. So we'll leave that for another moment.
But they had an NRL combine over there, and we've managed to scalp one of them is Marcus Dacare.
Marcus Dacary, I think.
Yeah, possibly. He's a huge lump of a kid. He's 194 centimetres.
Tall man.
Born in Hong Kong.
That's it. I think Kyle McCarthy might have reached out
and said,
g'day, Marcus, or however you say g'day in Hong Kongish.
Hongkonese, yeah.
Ni hao. He said, ni hao, Marcus, come on down to Newey.
Yep.
And of course, Marcus, he's a very multicultural man. He's born in Hong Kong, living in Canada, so I believe he's a Canadian citizen. So he heard there's a stronghold down here of Hong Kongers and Canadians, and he said, that's it. I'm picking Newey.
And we picked him now. Now, Liam, is this a brilliant move of recruiting, or is this a dying act of a desperate man? I'm really not sure if this is something that is going to be, in years to come, we're going to look back and go, my gosh, didn't we do well?
I've been saying for a long time, a thing can be two things. It can be both of those. So
desperate.
I think it's absolutely a tremendously desperate signing, because I think he's the only one from the combine who actually got signed. Or there might have been one other.
Yeah.
So it might be the last gasp of a dying swan, but also, we're throwing darts at a wall. He's beautifully balanced athlete with speed and agility who can beat people, according to Mr. Parr. There was 50 prospective players included, most of these players from the North American continent, and he was one of 2 men chosen. Of 4 winners, none of the other 4 winners have signed a contract just yet. But the other thing they threw in here, and I always love to see it when they're talking about, the poor, on the straps of his ass NRL player, only on a mere $1,200 a week. $1,200 a week, Mr. Speaker.
Well.
I yearn for $1,200 a week.
In this economy.
But he's on the bones of his ass,
That's
I
right.
tell you.
I'm surprised he took the flight.
Yeah, all he gets is $1,200 a week,
Yep.
a free Suzuki Swift from bloody the Suzuki sponsor, which is the. I used to see Mitch Barnett getting around in one of the Suzuki Swifts from the sponsors, and it was
Probably
really
why he
because he's a big guy.
left.
Yeah. He was relegated to a Suzuki Swift. But I think, look, if anything,
Why not, I say?
fun.
Why not? Yeah. Hey,
It's fun.
A bit of fun.
Let's have a bit
we
of fun.
obviously have the nightmares of, what was the US guy over there?
Greg Smith.
Greg Smith.
Yeah, from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Who, apparently lied a little bit, but then came out.
A little bit?
Well, they said.
I think he lied every bit.
Apparently, he just didn't have any bits that he
Yeah.
played for the NFL. He said he was an NFL
He
whiz, but
he might have been on a practice squad, I think.
Yeah, he was on a practice squad, and he
I think, for the
elevated-
Philadelphia Eagles.
Which I sort of like that anyone's going to scrub up their CV and say, who's going to check? It was the
Yeah.
90s. They didn't have the internet readily available.
Walk Ryan.
Warren Ryan didn't check at all. They put him on and they go, hang on a second, this guy looks shit. And then immediately they try to take him off. And I think he did spend the rest of the season in reserve
He
grade.
did, and he wasn't very good there either.
Wasn't good there
No.
either. No, we certainly made a terrible mistake. One game for the Newcastle Knights. Greg Smith, the horrors are still following us, but we said, let's dip back into them. The best way to face your horrors, Liam, is to do
It's
the
a
same
dip
thing.
back into them.
Dip back
What do they call that? Immersion therapy.
Yeah,
Immerse
yeah.
yourself in your horrors, and our horrors are NFL dropouts.
He does.
Well, at least
Riddler.
Mr. Dackery does have a background playing rugby. The
That's
picture we
right.
had of him there was playing rugby for Queen's College, I think, in Ontario.
Yes.
So he has a background with, albeit a Gilbert. He
Yes.
obviously he's never fondled a Steeden until the combine.
no
but a
fondle.
Gilbert and a Steeden are roughly similar. He's never fondled a Gilbert.
At least he's held the ball in the correct
Yeah.
fashion and the similar size. Of course, the Gilbert's more round. The
And
Steeden's more pointy.
The Steeden's more pointy. Steeden's better for passing.
Yes.
Gilbert's better for kicking.
Yep.
But obviously, this man, according to Peter Park, kicks goals at 85%. So
How many has he
Cool.
kicked?
85.
85, yeah. It seems to be an interesting signing.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what fruits he brings.
Speaking of fondling a Steeden, though, this has stirred up some controversy, hasn't it, Naggy? Now, of course, in Australia, we're very well versed with ball tampering scandals. There was the Cameron Bancroft scandal.
Yep.
There was probably other ones that I
John
can't think
Abuate.
of. John Abuate. That was a bum. He was
That's
fondling a bum. Yeah.
bum scandaling, yeah.
Oh,
He was fondling, yeah.
Sam Burgess got done for a squirrel grip that one time, didn't he?
That rings a bell, yes. Yeah.
It seems like in character for Sam Burgess, I think.
Willie Mason, of course, gave
Oh,
the
yep.
fondle for
one of the Sims boys. Yeah.
when he was
touched him on his testicles.
yeah. Later, no balls. Later, Sally. She just gave up.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, she was tired.
Yeah.
Tuck it out.
But in
Give
this,
the girl a break.
In this particular one with the ball tampering, Lim, the Australians are very versed with ball tampering.
Oh, I
they
love
take
it.
it very
It's
seriously.
a national pastime.
The trainer for the Penrith, he said, I'll just pass you the ball. Here we go. And squirted the ball with what we assume is water.
We
but
have
could
to
been
assume
anything.
it's water. It
Could have been piss. Could have been could have been anything. Any fluid.
Would there be anything worse than catching a pissy Steeden?
Well, probably drinking from the bottle of water, thinking that it's water. But
Then, of course, the Cowboys trainer got done for the exact same
Same thing.
in the same game. We've never seen it before
How
in
often
history,
have they
and
been
all of
doing
a sudden it happens twice.
should the referee be there touching the ball, making sure it's appropriate, right? 'Cause
Well, it was very good of Todd Smith because he did pick up on it. He said,
said, "Hang
"Excuse
on a
me, give
second."
me that ball," and he hoofed it off the sideline.
I know my
got
balls.
a fresh one in.
Yeah, I know my touching of dry balls. I can spot a dry ball a mile away, he says. I don't even need to touch it. I've seen enough footage. That's how the refs train. They see footage.
It's footage of balls.
But is this in the spirit of the game, Liam?
I'm glad you mentioned the spirit of the game, Nagy. The spirit of the game has been hotly debated throughout the year. And, we're learning more and more about the spirit of the game with every week. And in this instance, I say yes.
Yes.
I say yes, because it's not malicious. There's no malice.
No.
Although I will say, anyone who's caught a fresh Steeden
Yes.
with new grip on it, or a fresh Gilbert with new
That's
grip, when it's wet, it hurts so badly.
Slaps, doesn't it?
It slaps you.
into you, yeah.
So I think that it is within the spirit of the game because it's not going to kill you.
No.
It will hurt you a little bit more. It won't kill you, and it's funny.
I think
I think yes.
All the players now have the spray-on.
I think it's hairspray they use, and they do it on their jersey and on their hands.
Is it hairspray? I don't know. They do the.
I have nothing to base that on. But
it's just a rugby league can that they hand around.
Well, because they wrap it around with the tape, of course.
Can't see it.
Well, because they can't get the rights for Vidal Sassoon, so they have to just wrap it in tape to cover up the Vidal Sassoon logo.
That's right. They can't afford it.
And I know that because I know that
Yeah.
because once I was out of deodorant and I tried to use hairspray.
Yeah.
It didn't work, and it was really sticky. Really, really sticky.
It is good if you've got an ink stain and you want to get the
Hairspray?
it's dried in. Yeah, if it's
Really?
dried in, you spray hairspray on it. It will re-oilize the ink. Oilize, yeah, that's right.
It's a very technical term, Naggy.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on the soppy Steeden and the spirit of the game?
I think
Is the soppy Steeden in the spirit of the game,
I
Naggy?
think there's part of the spirit of the game is you can continue doing it as long as you get away with it. Now that it's being caught, that you must cease doing it.
Well, no.
saying it was a rouge.
I think it's even more in the spirit of the game now that it's been brought to light.
A rouge.
I think it's even more in the spirit of the game.
Yes.
If after they've been caught, you can get away with it now.
Okay, now
I think it's even more in the spirit of the game doing it now.
Now they're aware
because they'll
of
be
it.
keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, of course. So now, if you can get away with it, good. Like how much? Like you kick when you kick it, surely most of the fluid falls off it.
And wasn't it raining too?
Look, I think
it was raining.
If it's raining, I mean, come on, what are we doing? Water's out.
What are we doing
it
here?
Falls from the sky. I mean, it's just an element.
And that's the
They
other
haven't
reason.
set fire to
Well, that's
it.
the other reason why it's in the spirit of the game. If you're complaining about a little bit of water on a Steeden, that's not in the spirit of the game.
Yes.
Complaining about a soppy Steeden is not in the spirit of the game.
I've never liked it. I've never liked a sloppy, or any kind of tampered.
I like every kind of Steeden. They're my favourite. I don't know if we mentioned on the show, my wife let us name our cat Steeden.
Yes, no.
Did we mention that?
Maybe. I don't know. The first
Yeah,
time.
I don't know if we did.
We'll get a photo.
Thank you, Brittany. I do appreciate it.
Little Steeden, he's gorgeous little
Oh,
boy.
he's wonderful.
He's a bit-
Troublemaker.
Yeah, troublemaker.
Oh, he's
of
a
course.
troublemaker.
Liam, George Burgess, you might remember, was one of the Burgess 4.
Yep.
Famously the Burgess 3, but there was a fourth one that wasn't very good.
Well, remember, he wasn't very good, so he's the one that got arrested in Arizona.
Yeah, he's the then he was
He-
gone.
he was the fall guy.
He was the fall guy, the fourth fall.
Did all four of them ever play in a game? They did once, didn't they?
Probably once in that
Yeah.
2014 season where they were just like, more Burgesses, everyone. Mrs. Burgess, make more Burgess children, please.
I think
Yeah, that's
I think
that
Russell
poor
tried with her.
Russell. A Russell Burgess combination would have been terrifying, I think. George
That's the last
Burgess,
person you'd ever want to fight in a pub. The love child of Julie Burgess and Russell Crowe.
Russell Burgess. Now, the next worst one, George, went over to back to the Super League. He had a hip replacement. He couldn't really play very well anymore. So he said, look, it's time for me to find a real job. And that job is to take the ball and run square into the opposition in this run it challenge that has taken the world by storm. Dana White has got his eye on it because he's realising that two people slapping each other doesn't have the same theatre as this. Two people running at each other, one with a ball, putting the best hit on. Not the best highlight reel for a run.
Well,
and a hit.
they've picked the absolute worst one they possibly could because you got two large men who have. See, this is the one they should pick.
Kaboom,
For those in the visual medium, watch this one coming in now.
Yes.
That should be the ad. That's the ad for Run It.
Yeah.
But I love, and again, in the spirit of the game is absolutely this. This is the spirit of the game personified.
It's taken from the backyard into the
Not
stadium.
from the backyard, Naggy. I would say that it's taken from every Silly Sunday and Mad Monday ever. Because that was the first thing you do on Silly Sunday. You'd have the gauntlet. You get everyone at the club lined up in two lines. You get the two biggest blokes at the club to just run as hard as they could at each other. It was great.
We want to see it.
I remember one year it was Dave Hetrick and what was the Kiwi guy? Adam. Shoot. Anyway, it was the highlight of Silly Sunday. And Silly Sundays.
Who came off the better?
They both did.
They both?
They both came away with their heads held high.
That's good.
So I think the fact that this sport is finally come into being, we've been pressuring for years to have this sport brought in.
Legalised,
Now,
regulated.
Go with me with this if you'd like.
More of a Vegas thing as well, I think. It's fast, it's quick, it's get in, get out.
Well, well, Naggy, go with me on this if you will.
Yeah, please.
We've got an Olympics coming up in Brisbane.
We do.
When that is, I don't know.
Yep.
But I believe one of the reasons, well, the only reason breakdancing got in France, because the host nation gets to pick a sport.
Yeah.
Could this be one of the Australian selections
ready.
for our Australian sport at the Olympics?
Ready for it?
Just the Run It Straight challenge.
Rugby league is basically being a practice for this. We've got plenty of rugby league players retiring, and they say, what are we going to do? They can
How are they going to earn a crust?
They can go from rugby league to Olympians.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's such a short trek. They've been doing this entire life. They're ready for it.
They've been preparing their entire life.
Now,
But you're right. The first one that they showed, the Nemani Nadolo and George Burgess clip, that's the worst one you could pick because it's two big guys
Fine, we wanna
just kind of running and then bracing themselves.
yeah.
Don't brace yourself.
Hit.
Bracing yourself for a hit is outside the spirit of the game.
That's right. I think so. I think so too. A very, very important thing because it does involve the
very
Newcastle
important.
Knights.
It
Because
does.
if you remember back, the Newcastle Knights had a mascot.
Rusty.
Rusty was the horse.
Which one of our dear listeners reminded us, of course, in the now dormant male sack, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
Who
yeah,
was
yeah.
that? Can we get the Buttons man to
We'll get the
discover who it
Buttons
was? We'll get the Buttons man.
And so he's written in and said, Rusty was obviously retired. Should we bring back Rusty, the horse? But the Broncos, who still have a horse running out there, PETA, now that's the animal activist group, has decided to, put their crosshairs on the Brisbane Broncos.
They
And
love
say-
putting their Cal Shad. Thank you very much, Cal Shad.
Thank you very much,
Your
Cal
question
Shad.
inspired this part of the news.
So the Broncos have been saying they're under pressure to say maybe they should retire the horse, take it out the back, put the blanket up, bang.
But
That's what they want. They're asking for it.
straight to the Clag factory.
What is the glue that it's? Everyone says the horse.
Well, we were talking
glue.
about it before the show. I think it's the hoofs.
Is it
I think it's the hooves.
What do they do with the rest of the horse? Dog food.
Dog food, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But now this is a classic Peter thing. It's like, they need to get rid of the horse. Well, get rid of it. The only solution to getting rid of the horse is the taking out the back and
Right.
shooting it.
Bang. It's got a job.
It's like when they always say, and Peter are bad for this, release the bloody orcas. Let the orcas out.
Yeah.
They'd live half an hour
Yeah.
in the wild and then they'd die.
They get eaten alive.
This is, look, let's be honest. This is just Peter scrambling for relevance in a
right.
world that has moved on from them so long ago.
And this
they are
economy-
one of the most irrelevant organizations
Yeah, yeah.
maybe in the history of the world.
Possibly.
They're more toothless than the UN, I think it's fair to say. So this is just nothing more than a grab from Peter to get back in the headlines because it's been a while.
They want to retire Buck. Buck being the name of the horse, and they want to change it to they want the name to
Buck
be the
lives a
Brisbane-
lovely life. I can't imagine he gets above a gallop too much.
He's a taxpayer.
He just meanders around. He's
That's right.
He's a-
That's right.
He's a
He's
taxpayer.
got a sponsorship.
He
all
gets
that.
all the paddle pops he might want.
That's right.
And he gets to watch rugby league once a week from
Once
the
a week,
sidelines.
Once probably only 16 times a
Yeah.
year to come out, do a lap.
Look, that's a happy horse if ever I've seen one, Nagy.
Look, I tell you what, the humanity as we know it has evolved to ride horses, and horses have evolved to have people on the back of them.
But of course, we did see a bit of a modernization of Rusty the Knight, of course, because there was that other. Remember, they had the two mascots. They had Rusty the Knight in the
Yes.
great armor on the horse,
was basically
and then they
like-
had the other shit knockoff one on a quad bike.
Oh, they had a quad bike.
quad
for a
bike
while.
rolling
Well,
around,
that's
yeah.
basically if knights in their medieval times realised that you could just get around on a quad bike,
That would have been way
wouldn't
better.
have to feed it, it wouldn't
Yeah.
shit everywhere. It seems to be the next likely progression.
Petrol probably would have cost 10 cents a
Yeah,
litre
right,
back then.
Plenty of it.
Yeah.
No one else is using it. They got mountains of petrol, so they could have just been riding around.
Could have even used leaded petrol back then, probably.
They all would have. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is nothing more than a scramble for Peter to try and become relevant again.
Cling on to Buck, I say. We let go of Rusty. We've missed every minute of it, Liam.
Yeah.
If only we could
Bring back Rusty. I say more animals in sports.
all the mascots
Yeah.
and horses, I say. It doesn't matter if you're the Storm or a Titan. Whack on the back of a horse. Get around. You see everyone faster. You're at a better height if you can shake hands.
Remember in the early 90s there was that national tragedy when the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins,
What happened to the Dolphins?
their mascot got stolen. Remember?
Was that a
Early
I thought
90s.
that was just an Ace Ventura a thing from.
Oh, that was an Ace Ventura
Ace
movie.
Ventura
yeah,
movie.
okay.
Okay.
That wasn't real life.
You thought that was factual.
Yes,
It wasn't
I
a
did.
documentary.
Is that not a documentary?
Not a documentary.
Ah,
Speaking of factual information, coming up in the second half, we'll be talking everything the Newcastle Knights and their horrific loss against the Gold Coast Titans. Please stay tuned.
Wild horses don't change the name. Wild horses, they're not boomerangs. Maybe I'm here, the blues are calling, they're calling again. Yeah. I feel a bit confused, I am confused. They're calling again. Well, I don't know what to do, I really don't know what to do. 'Cause they're calling again. The loss to the Titans at home, I didn't even think it was possible. But, you know, it's just, see us.
Thank you, Mr. Raj. Trying to put a brave face on to what is incredibly disappointing. Liam, I know
Wasn't that just dire? That was absolutely
it was
dire.
fucking dreadful, Liam. It was fucking dreadful to dive back into.
Ground conditions good, weather fine. That's all I have to say
That's
about the game. We're done. Thank you. Join us next week, Justin.
It was I thought we were going to come out with either two things. We're going to get flogged by the Titans, or
You had a prophecy when the Knights were up, I believe, 20-0
Yes.
not long before the half. Now,
Not long
you
before the
prophesied
half.
something. Fill the Jousters in about what the tea leaves read to you.
The tea leaves read to me, Liam, that I thought for a moment, if we can hold them out to half time, we'll squash
Surprise!
their spirits.
We
but
didn't.
We didn't.
Ah,
and they
the
scored
spirits weren't quashed.
Philip Sammy went over in the 34th minute, and I thought, look, as long as we can hold them out to half time is the safe bastion there that we can just
Not
make.
for the Knights. It never has been.
No,
it's always been
no.
a very unsafe bastion, in fact. I would argue it's been the most dangerous bastion for the Knights is half time.
After the very heroic try of Matt Croker, someone doing something that I always thought that Matt Croker could do, of running a good
What a
line,
player.
carrying a few players over on the 27th minute, and I thought, oh, this is great. Little did I know that it was going to be the last try that we scored. 20 points to 0 at one stage in the game, and then going into halftime, 20 points to
At least
6.
we can hang our hat on the fact that it wasn't the worst comeback loss of the weekend.
No, it wasn't.
Thank Christ for
There
that.
was something in the air, Liam, where it seemed like almost immediately when we watched...
Chlorofluorocarbons.
Yeah,
CFCs were in the air.
That's right. I don't know
impairing all of our judgment.
anything of that meant, but...
Well, they were what used to be in spray cans, remember? And then all the world signed on to the Montreal Protocol and banned CFCs, and the hole in the ozone layer fixed itself.
How much deodorant was getting around?
Heaps of it, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently plenty of it.
Wasn't sweat to be seen.
Nah,
No.
but this game could have used a spray of deodorant because it was a fucking stinker.
When we look at the the stats,
You're wondering how I was going to drag that back around,
yeah.
didn't you? Yeah.
When we look at the stats, the stinker.
we'd rather
'cause
not. Yeah.
Well, if we the possession was 46-54, the Titans. Now that's a huge possession.
That's so lopsided.
When we went into half time, it was 61-39 to the Knights. So the Titans had absolutely all of the ball in the second half, and over the course of that 40 minutes, they made it work enough to get the win.
And I mean, to be fair, the Knights just kept handing them the ball on a
over.
silver platter. So it wasn't. It's great for the Titans to win this. The Titans did it. Good for them. Go the Titans.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the Knights just handed it to them. They absolutely handed it to them.
Only completing 11 sets in the second half. We had 22 sets that we completed to their 10 in the first half. And we did enough with it. We were scoring points. A lot of the criticisms to the Newcastle Knights weeks ago was, well, they can't score points. We scored 50 points in 2 games. That should be enough to win a couple of games. It's only enough to win 1, apparently. It was the worst nightmare. I think everyone knows that the Newcastle Knights has to score a lot of points and then get into this weird defensive thing. We've defended a lead, and for some reason it's been the likes of for years and years since the Andrew Johns days, and that still came back to haunt
Gritty
us.
defense was the hallmark of the Knights, and even the gritty defense that's the hallmark of the Knights was not a hallmark this weekend.
It also broke the hoodoo of them losing at home to us and us losing at home to them. They decided, hang on a second, we're going to take 2 wins here. 2 wins against the Newcastle Knights. You bastards. You utter bastards.
But I think, Naggy, we need to discuss the attack of the Newcastle Knights inside the attacking red zone because it was putrid. It was absolutely putrid. Passes were going, they weren't going to hand, they were going behind the player. The play kept bogging down, it seemed to me, and we'll discuss this when we talk headwear, with Tyson Frizzell in the middle not having the ball handling skills perhaps of Adam Elliott.
Yes.
But it just seemed like in the attacking red zone, they didn't have a single clue about how to score a try or even to apply pressure. It was so bad.
We look in structured play way off the pace.
So far off the pace. We're not even on the pace. There's no structured play to be off the pace.
That's right.
We're not even on the same trot track.
We're barely playing the same sport.
Yeah.
We're playing horseball
I think
like
they just
Pomsaw and Scone.
They're just trying to play run it. They're like,
Yeah.
we have one bloke running at the other bloke. We'll score eventually. That's not rugby league.
Well,
that's not the spirit of the game.
That's what the first half would lead us to think, Liam, that if we just kept the ball and eventually
True.
the tries would come. We're playing in a certain way that there's obviously a lot of talent and try scorers within us.
So many talents, so many try scorers.
Fletcher Sharp, obviously Dylan Lucas, Brendan Best, and we're just hoping that there is enough one-on-one 50-50 chances when things are going our way that we'll get the points. From structure, from the lead-in when we get the ball, 40 metres out, we edge up to 20 metres out, we get there and we say, what do? We don't know.
We talked about this last week, that last week was a great example of Adam O'Brien football going well. It wasn't well-structured attack, but you had your guns firing. You had your best players firing and doing good stuff. Yes, it was against a toddler in the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
That's right.
But this week, the toddler beat us. But yeah, it was classic Adam O'Brien football where the attack is woeful, but the guns weren't firing to make up for the woeful structure and woeful lack of direction.
Yes. It seemed like every time the Titans were just offloading the ball at will in the second
Once
half.
the Titans started offloading, they caused very, very, very big trouble for the Knights.
A lot of pain.
Very big trouble.
It was a painful game to see. Again, another loss at home.
Yeah.
And it was
an insipid loss.
It reminded me of that game. I think it was round 9 against the Warriors back in 2005.
Why not? 2005 now.
Yeah, 2005. It was. We were desperate.
Your rugby league memory always astounds me. It's
Desperate
amazing.
for a win there with Andrew Johns. First game, it might have been round 8. It was the first game that Andrew Johns was playing with Danny Badiris back in that 05. We put 20 points on the Warriors. Andrew Johns breaks his jaw.
Oh, the
and
broken
the Warriors
jaw game.
claw back, and then in the final minutes, might be in the last 90 seconds. I think it's I was going to say Phil Mawani. That's I just combined a bunch of names together.
That's it. That name's not right at all.
Someone made a break and
For the Warriors or for the Newcastle Knights?
The Warriors and ran the length of the field and scored and put it out. Put it beyond a contest, and I think that's what happened here with AJ Brimson, obviously a touch football Queensland touch football competitor and colleague of our very own Kalen Ponga, and he's come out and said before that he likes to have a bit of you touch mine, I'll touch yours,
artistic freedom to play around with.
Yeah, and AJ Brimson definitely with those two efforts down the blind side of just effort over.
He's one of the better effort players. AJ
I still
Brimson.
think AJ Brimson is totally underutilized at the Titans.
He's not a half. They keep playing him in the halves. He's not a half.
I think in the same way
they're playing a spine of 3 fullbacks: Campbell, Brimson, and their fullback.
Jalen
DeGroot. Yeah.
And I think in many respects, the same way is happening with Fletcher Sharp. I think that Fletcher Sharp would be able to do even more than what he's doing now if he was only making 2 or 3 tackles a game and just running as an extra man fullback. But instead, we're making him a decision maker there in the line. He's not a natural half.
You have noticed he's starting to kick a bit more recently. Doesn't look like a natural kicker of the ball.
Not a natural kicker, not a natural passer. Left to right pass would have to be one of the slowest in the game. I think he's an excellent footballer. And
remember, he gave up that intercept. Luckily enough, they said, what a great play from Fletcher Sharp to chase the man down and do the intercept. He was the one who caused the initial trouble.
The intercept.
Now, before we get to the hat, where obviously that's going to come, Naggy, you mentioned a name in that brief paragraph you were talking there.
Falmawina was the player that I believe was the
Found it. Did you lose it?
Yeah. Hey!
Applause if we could.
Yeah. Sione Falmawina. Thank you very much.
But you mentioned before we get into the hatware, and we usually wait till the hatware to bring up individuals in the rugby league team for the Newcastle Knights. But I think we need to discuss Kalen Ponga at this point.
Yes.
Is this, and again, I don't think you could say that Kalen Ponga has been bad over the last few weeks, but the sustained excellence that we're so used to, this would have to be his longest stretch of just okay football.
Mediocre
Ran for
football.
105 meters, I think it's fair to say, in the whole time he's been at the club, you could count on one hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the amount of times he's run for less than maybe 180 meters.
There's talks that he is suffering not only a shoulder injury,
rib
cartilage,
That's
and
one of the
shoulder,
worst.
and I think it's the AC joint in the shoulder, which are two of the injuries where they just say, look, it's painful, but you can continue playing, which I don't really understand because usually pain indicates damage, and rugby league is a very damaging
If you're a coward.
game. Yeah, if you're a coward.
If you're a coward.
So it seems like Kalen Ponga, the guy that would sometimes get us together and pull us out of this mess, is someone playing hampered, and we're relying on other factors. But
If only we had several young, exciting fullbacks we could put in that place. If only there was a Fletcher Sharp or a Connor Vitano in the wings.
Yeah.
Hell, even Chuck Marcus Dackery in there.
that's right.
He'll probably do a pretty fine job.
Combine Hong Kong hero, they call him. So it seems like we are just searching for answers, and when the chips are down,
I don't think we don't know what the question is.
No,
we're not searching for answers. We're searching for the question that we will then need to go on and search for the answers for.
It is a painful experience to see your team getting chased down by 20, made only slightly better by seeing the Broncos getting 14 points chased down directly after.
Good. And then what happened on the Sun? Oh, then of course the Canterbury Bulldogs chasing down. I think the Raiders were up 20 points to nil.
That's right.
And they chased them down. So at least it wasn't the most embarrassing loss of the weekend.
Second most.
But because it was to the Titans, yes, I think it was the most embarrassing loss of the weekend.
Des Hasler up there thanking everyone in the stadium for his job for another few weeks. It was a great night for Des.
That's it. When they extend Des next week, they can thank bloody the 17,000 fans that were at Marathon Stadium.
Still rocking up there in the terrible times.
What, the best fans in the world? I know if they keep putting it the graveyard shift, I'm never going to be able to make a game.
That's right.
'Cause I don't finish work till 6 or 7 on a
They
Friday.
say it's easy to get to. It's not.
It's not. It's very hard.
No.
For the working men and women of this region, which we are two of.
We are.
We're not the men, but we're the workers.
We're not the two men, but we are two men.
Yeah.
Liam, but if we're going to be looking, favourably on any player, we have to be taking our hats off for this week.
Hats off. Hats off. Hats off.
I might actually take my hat off for this week for Mr. You can know this, Jacob
Safidi.
Again,
I think
second game back.
Second game back. Again, we didn't realise, I don't think, the importance of Jacob Safidi to this forward pack. Yeah. He really has showed, he's the bedrock of this forward pack. He's the one who gets everything going. Everything happens for the Newcastle Knights when Jacob Safidi is putting in hard yards, running big meters. He ran for 213 metres, 60 post contact.
Again, cracking that 200 is
33 tackles, no misses. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's the only forward sort of generating some go forward. Leo Thompson, obviously, I think, has finished the game with an injury. So, that's a bit of a concern because he's our sort of second best. He's the two punch of the 1-2 punch. So it's going to be pretty revolutionary, the fact that Knights are going with a one punch attack.
A one punch attack.
As opposed to the 1-2 punch.
We are certainly a big man short. I said it before, if only we had two Safidis.
It'd be perfect.
It seems like without that go forward and without that direction every time he comes off the field.
It fell to bits. It absolutely fell to bits.
I think it is that structure that we need. Yeah. If we've got any chance of the likes of Fletcher Sharp, as we criticisms before, despite him being an excellent footballer, I don't think he's in the right position. And Jack Cogger, who is, let's be honest, just not I was going to say he's not a 7 out of 10 halfback. He's about a 6 out of 10. And look, that would be okay if we had a 5/8 that had grown up had been playing against men in the halves. Fletcher Sharp doesn't. He's got too many decisions to make.
Let me put something to you, Naggy. I think Fletcher Sharp could be a very, very good 5/8 if he had a good halfback inside him. And again, we don't mean to slander Jack Cogger. He's the founding member of the School for Unremarkable Boys, and we respect Jack a lot for that. And that's a very important role in rugby league.
Yes.
But I think if you were to pair, and again, they
would both be better players if they were playing with better players beside them.
If you paired Fletcher Sharp with Jerome Hughes, for example, Fletcher Sharp would win the Dally M by round 9.
That's right.
He would equal Ken Irvine's try scoring record within a year and a half.
Yeah, I think so.
And we're doing the countdown to Mongo for Ken Irvine's try scoring record because Fletcher Sharp is going to get it.
He's going to get it.
We're doing the countdown to Mongo. Every time Fletcher Sharp scores a try, it's one closer to Mongo's record.
Not his best.
But I think Jacob Safidi is about the only player I could fathom giving a hats off to. Maybe Dylan Lucas, perhaps, because Dylan Lucas is great and he's always fantastic. Yep. But again, I don't think he moved the needle enough, but he's not meant to be the needle mover. No. He relies on the needle to be moved, and then he smashes the needle.
I think Dylan Lucas...
Safidi, fuck the needle. That's what Dylan Lucas says. Fuck the needle and bail.
Dylan Lucas might be looking at that 18 jersey for the Blues. I think he will.
I called it.
He did. And Liam, but when we take our hats off, we must return them to our head because the head's getting cold. In a second, let's call hats back on.
Yeah. Well, you put your hat on.
Now, Liam, you had a hats back on this week to one of our forwards.
Tyson Frizzell. Now, Tyson Frizzell's wonderful. I love him. I love the way he plays. But we, I think, saw Tyson Frizzell's best footy last year as part of that second row rotation with Dylan Lucas, Kai Pearce-Ball, Tyson Frizzell. Yeah. That second row rotation, safe to say maybe top 5 in the league if they're all fit and firing, which we saw last year when they were together. Yep. Obviously, there was injuries and such, so they weren't together all the time. But when they were, fantastic. Tyson Frizzell used to be wonderful playing in the middle of the field, but it really just did seem like every time he got the ball in the middle of the field, especially in the red zone again, the attack just died with him. He'd run the wrong line. He'd be a step behind. He'd be a step in front. He didn't have the ball playing nous that I think Adam Elliott would have done a much better job if he'd started.
But you have to have a 13 these days.
It hurts me to do this because Tyson Frizzell's been so good for so long.
He's a frightening man.
He's mostly because he might bash me. That's right. He may well bash me. And so I say this with respect, Tyson. Yeah. Not a great one, bud.
Not a best.
Not a great one.
Not the best one.
And he is a friend of the show, of course. He loves the show.
For me, it's even worse, Liam, because my hat's back on goes to Dane Gagai, the man that's just finished his 200th game for the Newcastle
I know
Knights.
This one hurt you to give out.
And
they
this
really
was
did.
Because the challenge is so important in today's game. If you're going without
first challenge was questionable, but they won it.
They won it.
Great. Everything's going our way.
We're in a decent defending position, and Dango guy says, no, I believe the ball was stripped, and he challenged it. He lost that challenge. After that, the Titans had their hands all over the ball, as you should as a rugby league team. If your opponent loses their challenge, just get your hands on the ball. Throw it, rip it out. You got a 50-50 chance. If they say play on, there's no cause of justice for the victim of that.
And a foolish challenge.
After that challenge, everything went downhill, and I don't think we got any sort of favourable call until it was too late. And sorry, Gags, on your special day, the hats go.
Well, he's got another special day this weekend.
That's
at least
right.
Game number 300.
Game 300. Apparently played 99 games for both the Broncos and South.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But I've got a bit of a conceptual hats back on it, and I think this one particular play summed up the Knights so perfectly this year. There was a goal line dropout the Knights had. They had to kick the ball and return it to the Titans or compete for it.
Yes.
Now, the Newcastle Knights famously are the worst team in rugby league when it comes to the short dropout.
Can't jump.
Even worse.
Just contesting the ball in general at a height.
They're winning by 8 points.
Yeah.
Winning by 8 points, and you try something that you are notoriously the worst in the league at.
About it.
That's the moment where we threw the game away.
We shouldn't be practicing out there on the field.
You know that thing we're really, really shit at?
Let's try it again.
Yeah. And you know how we're winning?
Yeah.
Let's do our worst thing.
Yeah.
What the Jesus goddamn Christ was that rugby league play?
That was absolutely unbelievable. It was like the filmmakers of Jaws.
Exactly.
After the first one, the rest of them were shit, and they go, "Do you know what we're shit at? Making a Jaws movie. Let's
keep
make
going.
another one."
Yeah.
Jaws the Revenge.
And I don't often give a hats off to an opposing teammate, but good Lord, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, he is wasted on the Titans.
He's incredible.
If he was in, I think, maybe 10 of the better forward packs in the comp, he would be regarded as the best forward in the competition, and their team would be leading the league. He didn't win a comp with the Storm. He never should have left.
No.
He never should have left.
No.
He's
not from there.
He's not from there. Wasn't born there.
Not from Gold Coast.
His form on the weekend.
I'm pretty sure he's from. Isn't he from Orange?
Orange.
I think he was born in Orange. Because he was born in the hospital.
He's from Orange via Gympie. Yeah.
Classic.
Gympie
orange.
Yeah.
You don't like a Gympie orange.
But I think there's
like a neglected lemon.
Like there's very
It is like neglected lemon, Gympie orange.
There's very few players in the league who are relied upon by their team quite as much as Tino.
Yes.
And watching him on the weekend, it's ridiculous how good he is. And I worry for Origin that he's going to be right there, packing down in the front row or at lock. Doesn't matter. Put him on the wing. He'll probably be the best player on the field in State of Origin 1.
Now, Liam, we can't dwell on a Titans loss. We must look
We
backwards,
don't
not
have
forwards.
to dwell on a bloody Parramatta loss.
Forwards, not backwards. Twirling, always twirling.
Looking forward.
We've got the Parramatta Eels, just once looking forward. We've got.
It's going to be a great game.
Thank you, guys. 6 o'clock, we got the death march there coming into Marathon Stadium, coming up against Parramatta Eels. They decided to be good after they've got Mitchell Moses back. We don't really have a good half. He's a great half. We've also got a man that we're paying a lot of money to in Dylan Brown playing against us.
Watch him absolutely light it up and
tear us apart.
Yeah.
It was also reminding us of our last loss against the Parramatta Eels. I think you had it up there, Samuel, which was loses to a lot of points to not many.
Yep.
At home, again, they just seem to know how to pull us apart. I remember Clint Gutherson, I think, got a hat-trick against a double. He used to score a lot of points. Big plus that he's no longer in their team.
It is a big plus, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I do think they've got the kind of mustard that's going to beat the Newcastle Knights. We haven't shown that we have just the fortitude to really come back and defeat a side like this. However, Liam, we have. I thought that during the game, I thought that Greg the Bus got hooked.
We thought he got hooked. The commentators thought he got hooked. He wasn't hooked.
No, injured.
Thank goodness. I would hate to see Greg the Bus hooked.
And one good thing about the Newcastle
hooker. Cherry pie, apple of her eye. She was a hooker.
And one good thing about the Newcastle Knights, where we're looking at the
we're never
juniors,
short on Fletchers.
We're never short
There's
on
lots of
Fletchers. No.
Fletchers. And you remember we went down to the trial match, of course, on the Central Coast at the start of the season, when the trial matches are played, at the start of the season.
Yes.
And Fletcher Hunt was out there running around. Not only is he named Fletcher,
Yep.
not only does he have a mullet,
like
his
Fletcher
play
Sharp.
style is so remarkably similar to Fletcher Sharp.
Yes.
Remember we were looking like,
Yeah.
he even has the same sort of hunchy run, he's skinny, he's fast. I don't know what the hell they're like. People
What
named Fletcher. There's something about him.
It was even, we had Fletcher Myers. We had too many
And Fletcher
Fletchers.
Baker as well.
We had to get rid of them.
Had to get too many.
Fletcher Baker, the candlestick maker. So we got.
So we got Fletcher in. Who else we got in? Because Leo Thompson's out injured. So
Thomas Kahn.
Thomas Kahn
is in.
and he'll do a great job. He'll come in off the bench and he'll do a wonderful job.
Frizzell
Matt
back in the
Croker, Brody Jones. That's a good local juniors bench there.
It is.
Something that Knights fans have been calling out for forever and a
There
day.
they are.
And we've done it forever and a day. It's just always been shit. So
Yeah.
I don't. And Dylan Walker in really good form for them, which you hate. Don't like that.
Always plays well against us as well.
Mitchell Moses, he's a concern, but I don't know. This game's just this is gonna suck.
I really am not looking forward to
That's
this
gonna
one,
be
Liam. To get the win.
But we are looking forward to Danger, guys. 300. We
300
stuffed up
game.
his 200 for the club. His 300th overall. Hopefully, we'll do a bit better.
53rd player to reach the 300 game margin, which is much higher than I thought.
There is more
Much higher,
than I thought,
So it's going to be great to see Gags get out there and hopefully do it all again.
Yes.
And in ways, do it all again, do it completely differently and win the game. But look, I have a bit of hope because we're at home. I just feel like if Mitchell
What have
Moses,
we said about hope in the past, though, Nagy?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Let go of the balloon.
Don't do it.
It's a shorter fall. I do think the Parramatta Eels are desperate for the win, and hopefully the desperate nature of Mitchell Moses to try to get his name in that Origin jersey gets inside his head and he makes a few.
Well,
bad decisions.
Nagy, as you learned knowing me in my early 20s and trying to get dates, desperation doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
Stinks. Yeah.
So he always runs the ball against us. He scores a bloody try.
Well, I'm
Really
glad you mentioned
pisses
him
me
running
off.
the ball and scoring a try because I think we've got a few little Origin things we might want to throw out. And that might
Well,
be one
that's
of them.
right. State of Origin, Liam, is coming up.
That's it. A much happier topic to discuss.
Well,
This has got me going.
the NRL
it's
does-
almost footy Christmas.
They do scheduling really well
Yeah.
right when you think my team sucks. Like we're going to do anything.
I've got
this year.
State of Origin.
State of Origin's on the horizon.
the
It's like
greatest rugby league you'll ever watch.
Christmas is the start of the season. You go, hooray, Christmas.
No, I still think footy Christmas is Origin.
Okay, well then I was going to say Easter's on the horizon. Easter is like Origin. It's never too far away. You never
Yeah.
know when it is, and then it comes up. Bang! The teams are selected. Now, Liam.
The Knights Parramatta game's the King's birthday holiday. No one gives a shit about it. It's a free, you're going to be hungover. It's a free day off. It doesn't matter. No one cares.
If I was going to ask you for the New South Wales Sky Blues,
Yes.
Liam, who is your bolter? Who's someone that
Terrell May.
Terrell May.
Now, I am concerned because I saw an article come out today in which Laurie Daly says that he doesn't think Terrell May would be a good fit
Yep.
for the New South Wales State of Origin Blues. Loza, you're off your head. He'd be a great pick. I think
put him in there.
putting Terrell
If
May
he's
coming
bad,
off the bench.
if he's a bad bloke, put him out there. He's playing against Queensland.
That was one of the things. One of Laurie's concerns was about his character. And his character's just he's a quiet guy who doesn't yell at people.
Is
That's
that
a
what
great
is
character
that
to
his
have.
character?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's still running second in the Dally M, which for a prop is
excellent.
unheard of.
He's been playing great for the Tigers.
I'd have Terrell as my bolter, but if
off the bench or starting alongside Pate Haas.
I reckon bench.
Okay.
But then who starts in the front row? Does that mean Jake Trebojevic gets another run?
I think Mitch Barnett comes over the top of him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I forgot about Mitch
who's-
Barnett.
Who's going?
The captaincy debate. Now, Nagy, what are your thoughts on that?
Stephen Crichton.
Stephen Crichton,
Stephen
really?
Crichton gets the C next to his name.
See, I would have thought Isaiah Yeo,
I think-
the heir incumbent, or not the he's not the heir, he's the heir apparent.
The heir apparent.
But seeing the
what do they
leadership,
allegedly call the French, the French
the
prince?
Dauphin.
Dauphin.
The Dauphin. Would you say that Isaiah
Yeah.
Yeo is the Dauphin?
The hour is the Dauphin, which sounds like you're just making sounds.
It does,
but there
doesn't
are
it?
words.
Now, I considered several players for the captaincy. I thought Isaiah Yeo. I thought Laurie Daly debuted Tedesco, and Tedesco's in great great form. Maybe he brings Tedesco in for a swan song as captain. Maybe Jake Trebojevic, bring him back as captain for the vibes or whatever.
He's a lovely guy.
didn't even consider Stephen Crichton as a captain.
Yes.
But
No,
Nathan Cleary, another one.
You know, he only played one game.
Yeah, but Stephen Crichton, it's very rare that I've seen a centre impact the game as much as he has.
Yeah.
His form this year has been bonkers. His game against the Raiders, he was unbelievable. As a leader, he spurred that club. Yeah, I didn't even consider that for a second, but he'd be a great captain, I reckon.
His form against for the Bulldogs, but his form also last year in the Origin Series is incredible. He made Hamisow really, really uncomfortable, and if they do put Hamisow in the centres, you really want to match.
Send Critter at him all day.
It's really uncomfortable.
Who have you got for a bolter there, Nagy? We digressed for a moment.
It has to be our boy Dylan Lucas, and I think he's going to be right on the edge there
18th
at
man.
18th man. I think that's where they're going to put him. Look,
because
Hudson Young
he's
is
going to cusp hard.
There is something that they want versatility, right?
Yeah.
They really want versatility. They talk about it all the time. Connor Watson has proven that he's going to take that
He'll be
14
there.
jersey.
Yeah, he'll be there.
But he's not versatile. You can't put him in the centres. You can't put him on the wing. You can't put him at
Who
fullback.
can you put at the centres and the wing and second row?
Well, if you put Latrell Mitchell in the centres and then you have Dylan Lucas on the bench as a backup centre.
Love it.
Now that is actual versatility
Love
there
it.
that you don't lose anything.
Because let's be honest, New South Wales at the second row position are more stacked than maybe any other team ever. Crichton and Martin are locked in. They're gonna play there.
Olakau'atu.
You've got Olakau'atu. You've got Keon Kalamatangi, Kalamatangi, the ghost drop. Because he's also been playing in the middle a bit recently. He's fantastic in the middle, so he can cover edge and middle. So here we go. We got Martin, Crichton, Kalamatangi, Stefano Olakau'atu, Hudson Young, Dylan Lucas right there in the mix. But you're right. I wouldn't trust any of those other ones playing in the centre or on the wing.
Yeah.
So do you have a bench of maybe Dylan Lucas because he can cover second row out?
Yes.
Keon Kalamatangi because he can cover second row in. Don't need anyone else.
Don't need anyone else.
Two-man bench.
Olakau'atu's big enough that he can play in the middle.
Yeah. No, because remember they tried that with him. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, you gotta get him on
Deployed
the
him in
edge.
the middle
Get him on
as
the
a
edge.
sort of numbers guy. Yeah.
Just get him running it. If they go with Tom Dearden, get him running at Tom Dearden all day.
Yeah.
Just make his night an absolute hellfest. But Liam Martin's probably done enough to keep his spot. But
he's locked in. Absolutely locked in.
There is enough there for the Blues that if we really need to win this one up there in Queensland game 1 to really squash them. But there is enough there that if there happens to be injuries that they can actually twist and turn. Now, the big question is, do you put Luai at 6 or Moses at 6 to partner Cleary?
Now, I've been thinking about this quite a bit because most people who follow rugby league only really know Mitch Moses as 7 for a bit of recency bias. But remember when he was back at the Titans, Brooks was 7, Mitch Moses was 6. Mitch Moses had come up the grades as a 6. We've seen how fast he is. He's got a great running game. He's got a massive boot.
Huge boot.
And so I think New South Wales are kind of spoiled at the 6th position, which we haven't been in a while.
Yeah.
I think I would still pick Luai because him and Cleary have played so long together. They've played so well together. And I think Luai offers a much more disruptive attacking threat.
Yep.
Moses does have a great running game. He can exploit a lot of gaps. But I still think Luai is more of a disruptor.
Yeah.
So I'd still go with Luai. But
They
I would
both
be
proved themselves.
I'd be very happy to see a Cleary-Luai partnership or a Cleary-Moses partnership. Consider this, if you will.
Yes.
Abby Coruscant hooker.
Yeah.
Cleary, Luai, Dylan Edwards at the back.
I see.
They won 7 premierships together. Get the boys back together for one more run around.
One more.
Why
Let's
not?
do it again.
Yeah.
There's
Get the
many-
band back together.
There's so many Penrith players that won premierships spread out all over the
everywhere.
shop. So
They're
it's really,
absolutely
really,
everywhere.
it's really, really difficult to know what's going on. In the same way, when you try to fix your own appliance, Liam, it's really, really difficult to know what's going on unless you know what you're doing. That's why
Which
you
we do
call,
not.
We do not.
We
That's why you
don't.
call the appliance guy. Kate Chesworth will come to your house and fix all the things that need to be fixed.
Send him to the Newcastle Knights boardroom.
Please
then.
do.
God.
Get the spanner around that, Kate. But his number to contact him on.
0414 760 542.
Thank you very much.
What a
Mr.
hearty tune.
Mr. Raj. Thank you very much, Kate Chesworth, good friend of the show. Now, Liam, we're going to put all our hopes and prayers into one basket and push it forward to 6 o'clock on Friday night, the very day that you're watching this podcast. I hope the Newcastle Knights can get over the Parramatta Eels in a desperate act, a last desperate act of a dying swan. So what was I forgotten? But Joust, if you like us, you can find us on all the social pipes, including TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Tunes, and Instagram, all of those, and Facebook. Thank you for joining us for another week, and we're going to catch you next week at this same time, but we might look a little bit different. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you again. Thank you, Liam. And it plays out. Mr. Raj. sorry, guys.
Ba-da-da-da. 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 Ba-da.